Hello and thank you for joining me again. In this episode, we're going to move forward, going into some historical evidence of an extraterrestrial connection and its influence on Australia, the original people, and we could say even other cultures briefly. Starting off, here's my ugly mug at the Gosford Glyphs. Now, this has a bit of controversy around it. These glyphs have a story behind them, and some say they're real, some say they're not. It's a bit of a mixed bag. And it was interesting because when I had James Gilliland, John Vivanco, Jordan Sather and the guys from Edge of Wonder Rise TV here on tour with myself, I took them there and John Vivanco remote viewed the place and was a little bit confused. He was getting a mixture, if I remember correctly, of evidence that there was really new glyphs there, old and extremely old. And I said, that's really interesting, because the story goes is that the Anubis glyph there was done in recent times. And then you've got a wall there called the Egyptian wall, which is just a snapshot there from a photograph that I took. Now this, some say, is quite old, but what's even older than this is the Pleiadian wall. And to cut to the chase, this ties in with the Pleiadian connection, that beings from the Pleiades came here, they manipulated the Denisovian and created the Aboriginal. Now, if interested in researching more on the Gosford Glyphs, I recommend Stephen and Evan Strong's website, Forgotten Origin, and their research. And somebody that I'm friends with is Ulukai Brendan Murray. And I'll just play a short clip of what he says about the connection of Uluru, Katajuda, and the Pleiades.
So Uluru is a very special place because it is a piece of Pleiades. It was sent by the Pleiadians here like a seed to seed our earth. So when you see the Uluru, the rock in the desert, what we see on top of the land is only about 1/10 of it. The rest of it's like a big arrowhead straight into the earth. And there is some other Pleiadian rocks that sit near it, and they call it Katajuda. And Katajuda is the marbles, or the ogres. And we believe that there's actually 12 there. And Uluru was the 13th, and there comes that number again.
Wow, yeah, 13.
So there was 12 marbles that was sent through the cosmos from Pleiades to seed this earth. And the big arrowhead, which was the rock itself, Uluru, and the 12 marbles were the ballast that carried 12 different forms of energy within. And that's what gave our earth the life force, the living spiritual life force. And before that it was just a molten rock floating through space. So it was the Pleiadians who seeded spirit and energy and frequency into our earth in the first instance. So everything we have is a result of their intervention or their interaction with this part of the cosmos.
Like terraforming there.
Yeah.
So we've gone into the rainbow body a little bit, and I'm trying to tie this now with the spiritual aspect because, again, it's said that this is being taught in 13 star systems with the rainbow body. I've experienced these beings myself. And so when it comes down to it, Zogen, which is the core, we could say, aspect of the rainbow body, which is the great completion, where one has gone through all levels of ascension and achieved Rigpa, which is pure awareness. The foundation of being aware that you are all that is, that you're shapeless, you're formless, you're unbounded, going from the rainbow body into emerging with source, that you are it, you're an aspect of it. So what's in our face a lot of the time when we're looking at spiritual development, training, working with energy and what have you? Chakras. So the chakras are wheels, vortex points. And they're different from the dantians. The dantians are more areas where we store energy, where the chakras are representative of different levels of consciousness, different densities. And a simplistic way to look at this is what I've got up here. So down the bottom, you've got the root chakra, survival. Up from that, you've got the sacral chakra, creation, sexual energy. Up from that, solar plexus, power. Up from that, green, the heart. Going up again, throat, love expressed, love spoken through our words, God speaking through us. The third eye, the all-seeing eye, God seeing. And the crown, the connection to source, God source creator. And so some say there's 7 densities, some say 8. Well, what you could do is say that the physical body is also 1, and if you include the physical vessel, what do you have? You have 8 aspects here on top of the 7 that you can see on the screen. So this is where it ties into the rainbow body, and looking now from the chakras to the different levels of energy bodies. Some use different terminology. This is something James Gilliland and myself brainstormed on coming to this, and I don't think anyone's got 100%, but this is just a representation and a different angle to look at this. So you've got the physical body, the temple of consciousness necessary to experience earth reality. You've got the mental body, thoughts, memory and information. The emotional body, feelings and emotions. The astral body, the energetic body. The ethereal body, the light body. The spiritual body, the wave function body. The I am body, higher self, the cell of source we all are. And then you've got the cosmic body in harmony with source, God, creator. And so these are different layers. When I'm talking about different layers of the light body when I'm doing the clearings, this is what I'm referring to. We're multidimensional. There's many different layers to us and many different ways that we're affected. And there are also entities and energies that are residing on these different levels as well. Even extraterrestrials and some crafts we could say are on the astral or etheric levels, and the list goes on and on. And so you can see here how going out they correlate with the chakras. And just briefly going over densities of consciousness within source, a way to look at this, and I've got the 8 here. There's many variations of this, again 7 or 8. Again, no one's got this 100% I believe, but it's just a framework that I don't want you to get boxed in on, but something to digest, ponder on. So the first, the elements. Second, plants and animals. Third, humanity, some extraterrestrial life. Fourth, extraterrestrials, ascended masters, spirits, Bigfoot, elementals, nature spirits, inner earth beings. Fifth, extraterrestrials and ascended masters. Sixth, goddess and godman beings, the guardians and watchers, some Elohim creator beings. Seventh, the Elohim, the angelic kingdom, plasma and energy beings. And eighth, God, source, creator. Now we've even got ultra-terrestrials which reside on, we could say, this planetary body, but they're in a different frequency. And so this is, again, is just a brief outline and some food for thought to expand the awareness on the reality of different beings in different levels of consciousness. And there is many different forms of intelligences out there. There's feline beings, there's Nordic beings, there's mantid beings, there's the greys, angelic, the Elohim. A lot of this, I have stuff referring to this on my YouTube channel and Rumble. And so going through this and all the variations, and we could say the human connection, because there is a huge human connection where beings have got all different variations of shapes, sizes, colours, and environments that they've adapted to, that they've evolved in, because it is a very complex situation of what's going on. It's not just so black and white. You take how life is here on Earth and elaborate that by a trillion, you start to understand the complexity of this, but yet there's an interconnectedness, and humans are throughout the galaxy and beyond. And really, why I'm going into this is to go into the superhuman abilities human potentiality that we have access to. And we hear this through different ancient masters, saints and sages, the siddhis, and as it's referred to in Hinduism. And so what are these abilities, and what is ascension, and what's attained through ascension, and really getting back to our natural state? It's like we leave source to experience and gain knowledge, and then go through a state of finding ourselves and elevating ourselves through the ascension process, basically back to our natural state, though we have a lot of experience after doing so through different lives and incarnating and experiencing different worlds, densities and what have you. So ascension abilities: levitation and flying, telekinesis, remote viewing abilities, and I'll go into that a little bit more shortly, psychic abilities, healing abilities, astral traveling abilities, bilocation and teleportation abilities, the ability to manipulate matter, the ability for manifesting through thought, tulpas and egregores. Now, tulpas are something that you can create through thought, a conscious entity, a being, and an egregore is where you're doing it on a collective level. So even some of the phenomena, if a group is powerful enough and working in a cohesive manner enough, they can actually create an experience, manifest an experience, just like us as a collective can on Earth, through the way that the media and what have you can manipulate us and start to bring in an experience that's physical from a story that might not be true. That's how complex but yet advanced our consciousness is. And even the ability to acknowledge and know past lives and tap into that knowledge in the other lives and aspects, because really, from my experience, we're actually experiencing all these lives at the same time, which goes into a non-linear understanding of this. But again, it's just some ideas for you to ponder on. So what are we capable of? Well, remote viewing. You've heard me talk about John Vivanco. He's known as a psychic spy. Well, here, this is just from Wikipedia, just a brief sort of thing to show you so you can integrate this and just digest this and understand this in a very simplistic way. Physicists Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff, parapsychology researchers at Stanford Research Institute, SRI, are generally credited with coining the term remote viewing to distinguish it from the closely related concept of clairvoyance. Although according to Targ, the term was first suggested by Ingo Swann in December 1971 during an experiment at the American Society for Psychical Research in New York City. Remote viewing was popularized in the 1990s upon the declassification of certain documents related to the Stargate project, a $20 million research program that had started in 1975 and was sponsored by the US government in an attempt to determine any potential military application for psychic phenomena. The program was terminated in 1995 after it failed to produce any actionable intelligence information. From Wikipedia. Well, let's say they haven't stopped doing it. They outsourced it. I know it for a fact because I've been approached. Now, it's basically where through thoughts, feelings, ideas, impressions, the senses, smell, hearing, depending on how one operates, you go through a process where you're given a target number. So let's say, in a way that it is done, there's a piece of paper that can have a photo, an object, a target in it, a place. And they draw a line to that and designate it with 2 lots of 4 digits. And they put those same digits on an envelope with that piece of paper folded up with the target inside the envelope. All they do is give a remote viewer those numbers on the envelope, and they do an ideogram, which is a squiggle, and then they go through a protocol. The first thing that comes to mind with colours, impressions of textures, dimensions, the list goes on. And then once you finish that, you give that back to the person who's given you the target that's monitoring this in a lot of cases. And in most cases, there'll be a number of remote viewers with the same target, and you look at the cross correlation of what everyone's got, and you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that that's pretty much at the target or very relevant to the target. Now, I've been remote viewing for many years, and actually this is from my first book, which has been redone now, and this isn't actually in it now, with the new edition done of Awakening, which is part 1 and part 2 combined in one book. This is the first target I ever did, and I actually started out by doing Ed Dane's course on a DVD set, and I've worked with John Vivanco and many remote viewers since, but I've been doing this for many years, practiced a lot. Even in the last week, I've done about 50 targets. Now, as an example, that was the target up the top, which is the stoning of the devil ceremony. I didn't know what the target was, but if you look down the bottom what I wrote and what I drew out, more to the point, I've done a circle with a pyramid in the middle of it. Now, if you look at the target up the top, there's a circle, and also there is an obelisk, but it's got a pyramid on top. In the next drawing there, I've done stones. I wrote stone, and I've just drawn out pebble stones. So when you combine this and then you look at the target, it was the stoning of the devil ceremony. Here I am drawing out a reference for what the place looks like, and in the next one I've done stones which are relevant for what the ceremony is. And that took me aback, because after that I did many different targets, and it is something you have to be disciplined with. And I've got my own style doing this these days, with and without the paper. And people that are in remote viewing are very specific that you are not doing remote viewing unless you're doing it in the way that I explained it, with the target numbers, the ideogram, and then going through the process. So we sort of went over a lot of things in this. Very briefly though, and a lot more can be elaborated on. But just steps to see the bigger picture of what's going on and our capabilities, human potentiality, soul evolution. There's a lot going on that points towards this. And so wrapping this up, I want to go back into being able to sense energy again. So without rubbing your hands this time, like we did in the last episode at the end, what I'd like you to do is set the intention to feel energy. And as you breathe in, just set the intention to feel the energy. And as you breathe out, bring your hands closer together, about 2 inches away from each other. Breathe in again. Breathe out. Hands in again, a couple of inches away from each other. Stop. Breathe in again. Breathe out and repeat again. Repeat. Slowly move your hands around, like as if there's a ball of paper in between them. Bring it back out again. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Again, move your hands around. Get them very close, but not touching, and you will feel a tingling sensation in the palm. Now, with each breath, you could set an intention to trap that between the hands and build up that energy. Let's say with love and the intention of healing, to where you can grab that energy and you should be able to feel a tingling sensation in the palms. You could even just put it on your heart space for healing. Sending yourself some love, you could do it to another, and then repeat that process to build up positive energy and replenish your own energy. But it's just a tip, it's just a tool, and it's just a way for you to play with feeling energy. So we'll leave it there. Many blessings. I hope this has been beneficial. Love, light, and bliss.